My name is Diana. I run operations for a restaurant group that seats 3,000 people a week. I know how a check moves from kitchen to table the way most people know how to tie their shoes. So when I walked through those heavy glass doors and saw 16 members of my family already seated, lobster tails fanned across crushed ice, a $400 bottle of Bordeaux already half empty, I already knew. They had been there an hour before me. They had ordered everything, and not one single person at that table planned to pay. My father looked up from the head of the table, smiled the smile of a man who thinks he's already won, and said 5 words I'll never forget. Asterisk, you're paying, right? You owe us that much. Asterisk, he thought he had cornered me. He had no idea what I had already read in that bathroom. He had no idea what 2 sentences whispered to a waiter named Nathan were about to cost him in front of every person he'd ever wanted to impress. Let me back up, because why? Your need to understand who I was before that parking lot, before that table, before the version of me they were counting on finally said no. I am 32 years old. I did not inherit anything. I built. At 17, I was bussing tables at a steakhouse in Knoxville, coming home smelling like fryer oil and going straight to school the next morning. Hostess at 19, server at 21, floor manager by 24, regional operations director by 30, 4 locations, 3,000 covers a week. I manage vendors, compliance, staffing, and financials from the loading dock to the final check. I am not rich. I have a paid-off 2-bedroom condo and a retirement account I never touch. My one indulgence is sparkling water, still or sparkling, every single time I eat out. My staff thinks it's a quirk. It isn't. When you spend your whole life paying for everyone else's steak, you learn to keep your own tab small enough to walk away from. My family has always had a different understanding of what my income means. My mother's phrase, the one she has used since I was 19 years old, is this: asterisk, family takes care of family. Asterisk, she said it when my server tips covered the electric bill. She said it when my father needed a cosigner on the truck. She said it when my sister Brooke's apartment deposit fell through and I quietly paid it without being asked. I did it because somewhere around age 15, I learned that the fastest way to keep the peace was to make sure nobody had to ask twice. I trained them. I taught my own parents that my wallet was a vending machine. Insert guilt. Receive check. Everyone is happy. Dinner is quiet. 3 years ago, that machine finally said out of order. Brooke decided to open a cafe. No business plan, no market research. She'd seen one in Charleston with exposed brick and a matcha menu and thought I could do that. Asterisk, she needed a $75,000 loan. The bank said yes with a cosigner. That cosigner was supposed to be me. I asked to see a business plan. Brooke didn't have one. I asked about lease terms and projected margins. Mom's voice went flat. Asterisk, she's your sister. You don't need a spreadsheet to love your sister. Asterisk, I said no. My father stood up, pointed at the door, and said the thing that closed it for 3 years. Asterisk, if you won't help this family, you're not part of it. The next morning, I had been removed from the family group chat. Nobody called, nobody texted. I had become the daughter who loved money more than her own blood. But I had no idea how bad it was about to get. 3 years of silence. Then one Tuesday morning, my phone buzzed. A notification from the group chat I had been removed from. Asterisk, family asterisk, with the little red heart emoji my mother had picked in better times, had added me back. The chat history was clean. Either they had cleared it, or, more likely, there had been a second group without me the whole time. Mom's message was warm, careful, almost rehearsed. She wanted to invite me to dinner at the Belvedere to start healing as a family. Just the 4 of us, her, Dad, me, and Brooke. A small dinner, a fresh start. Then, 30 seconds later, a second message. Asterisk, family takes care of family, sweetheart. It's time we remembered that. 5 words I had heard my entire life. And I noticed she had not said sorry. She had not said we were wrong. She had said it's time to heal. Asterisk, passive voice. No subject, no one responsible. I typed back. Asterisk, I'll be there. Asterisk, then I pressed my phone face down on my desk and pretended my hands weren't shaking. The drive to the Belvedere took 40 minutes. I played no music. My hands sat at 10 and 2. Somewhere near the highway merge, my stomach tightened, the same feeling I get when a walk-in cooler fails on a Friday night, and I know the next 6 hours are going to hurt. I almost turned around, but I had written a sticky note and pressed it to my steering wheel that morning. Asterisk, one dinner, then home. Asterisk IK. EPT driving. I saw my father's truck in the third row, my mother's sedan beside it. Fine. Then I saw Aunt Linda's white Buick, Uncle Greg's SUV, my cousin's car. 3 more I recognized, 2 I didn't. 9 vehicles. For a dinner that was supposed to be 4 people. I sat in that car with the engine off for 2 full minutes. I read the sticky note. Then I got out, straightened my blouse, and walked through those heavy glass doors because I was 32 years old and I was not going to start running in a restaurant parking lot. The hostess led me to a private dining alcove at the back. I could hear them before I could see them, laughter, clinking glasses, my Aunt Linda's cackle cutting through the room. I turned the corner. 16 chairs, everyone filled except the one directly across from my father. Lobster tails on crushed ice, Wagyu sliders on a tiered stand, a charcuterie board the size of a coffee table, and in the center a 2016 bottle of Bordeaux, retail around $400, already half empty. They had been ordering hard, for an hour, without me. My father looked up, smiled, and said, asterisk, you're paying, right? Asterisk, and then Mom leaned over and squeezed my hand and said the words she had been saving up like ammunition. Asterisk, see, sweetheart, family takes care of family. Asterisk, that night I made a decision that would change everything. I excused myself to the restroom around the 40-minute mark. The Belvedere's restroom had cloth hand towels and lavender soap and a full-length mirror that made you look slightly better than you felt, which was a neat trick because I felt like I was digesting glass. I pressed cold water against my wrists, breathed, then I saw it. A phone on the marble countertop, screen still lit, case covered in daisy stickers. Brooke's phone. I didn't plan to look, but the screen was bright, and the notification banner at the top was from a group chat I had never been added to. The group was called Dinner Plan, asterisk 3 me. The members, Mom, Dad, Brooke. The preview text stopped my hand mid-reach. Asterisk, don't tell Diana, it's everyone. I picked up the phone the way I pick up a vendor invoice that doesn't add up. Not angry, not surprised, just confirming what the numbers already told me. I scrolled up. Mom's full message. Asterisk, don't tell Diana, it's everyone. Once she's there with the whole family watching, she won't dare say no. She never could handle a scene. Asterisk, Dad had replied. Asterisk, just make sure she sits at my end. I'll handle the ask. Asterisk, Brooke, 2 minutes later. Asterisk, order the good stuff before she gets there. Once it's on the table, she can't exactly send it back. LOL. Asterisk, I kept scrolling. 10 days ago, Mom. Asterisk, the bank called again Thursday. We need to figure out something before June. Asterisk, Dad. Diana can cover us through spring. She's got more than enough. Asterisk, and then the one that hit like a bag of gravel off a shelf. Mom, 8 days ago. Asterisk, it's not asking for money. It's letting her back into the family. She should be grateful we're even giving her this chance. Asterisk, grateful. They wanted me to be grateful for the privilege of being tricked into a 16-person dinner so I could pay a bill I never ordered. To solve a financial crisis nobody had told me about. For the family that cut me off the last time I said no. I set the phone back exactly where I found it. Screen down. I washed my hands. I looked in that mirror. I realized then no one was coming to save me. I had to save myself. I walked back to that table with the same expression I wear when a health inspector arrives unannounced. Pleasant, unreadable, fully operational. Nobody noticed anything different. Aunt Linda was telling a story. Uncle Greg was working on his 3rd lobster tail. Brooke had reclaimed her phone and was scrolling again, completely unaware that I had just read every word of their plan. But I was noticing things now that I hadn't let myself see before. Mom kept glancing at Dad's wallet on the table. Quick little FL. 6, like she was checking a countdown. Dad's laugh was half a beat too loud, the way people laugh when they're nervous, and covering it with volume. The 2nd bottle of Bordeaux was nearly empty, and nobody had suggested slowing down. Why would they? They weren't paying. I was paying. That was the entire point of the evening. I started asking quiet questions, casual ones, the kind you ask when you're catching up. Not the kind you ask when you already know the answers and you're watching people lie. Asterisk, how's the cafe, Brooke? Asterisk, she paused. Asterisk, oh, we closed. Market just wasn't there. Asterisk, 11 months after opening. Exactly as I had predicted 3 years ago when I said no. Asterisk, how's the contracting business, Dad? Asterisk, his jaw tightened for half a second. Asterisk, between projects right now. Economy's been tough. Asterisk, Juan nodded. I let them keep talking. People tell you everything when they think you're the bank. They told me about the kitchen renovation on hold, the vacation they skipped, how things had an asterisk a little tight, but nothing we can't handle. Asterisk every sentence was a window into a house that was on fire while they all stood on the lawn pretending the smoke was a barbecue. Then Brooke cracked the surface. 3 glasses of Bordeaux in, she leaned across the table and grinned. Asterisk relax, big sister, it's just dinner. We ordered the good stuff since you're treating. Said it like it had been decided in a meeting I wasn't invited to. Which of course, it had been. They had no idea what was coming. My father waited until dessert. Strategic. The soufflé had arrived. The creme brulee was cracked. The second Bordeaux was upside down in the ice bucket. Every face at that table was soft with the particular satisfaction that comes from a meal you did not pay for and do not intend to. Dad set down his fork, folded his hands on the table's edge, the same gesture I had watched him make before signing contracts, before Thanksgiving speeches, before asking me at 23 to co-sign. In the truck, he looked at me, not unkindly. Asterisk Diana, you're paying, right? You owe us that much. Asterisk 16 people heard it. The young waiter Nathan standing behind me heard it. The couple at the next table heard it. My mother nodded. My sister smirked. My aunt reached for another pat of butter like the matter was settled. I did not answer right away. I let the silence do its work. 3 seconds. 5. Long enough for 16 people to shift in their chairs and find something interesting to stare at on the wall behind me. Then I put my napkin on the table. I smiled. Asterisk let me go take care of things, I said, and stood up. Every single one of them exhaled. Mom. Aunt Linda. Dad uncrossed his arms. They thought I was going to pay. I did not walk toward the front register. I walked toward the service station at the back of the dining room, where a floor manager named David was reviewing a ticket. I kept my voice low. Professional. The volume you use in this industry when you're handling something that doesn't need the dining room's attention. I said 2 sentences. I'm not the host, and I won't be covering this table tonight. Please bring the full check to the gentleman at the head of the table, the one whose card is already on file for the reservation. Asterisk David looked at me for 3 full seconds, reading the room the way a good floor manager reads every room fast, thorough, without judgment. Then, asterisk thun-dant asterisk I added one more thing. Asterisk split off just my sparkling water onto a separate check and add 30% to mine for your team. You've earned it tonight. I paid on the spot. 1 sparkling water, 2 refills, 30% tip, the largest Nathan had seen in a month. Then I walked back to the table, sat down, and took a slow sip of my water. 10 minutes later, Nathan placed the leather check presenter directly in front of my father. Not in the center, not near me. In front of Raymond Mayfield, the man who made the reservation, whose circa he was on file, who had told the table to asterisk put it all on this asterisk 2 hours ago. The table conversation died like a candle in a draft. Dad stared at the folio, processing. Asterisk the check was supposed to go to Diana. Asterisk he picked it up, flicked it open with the same 2-finger flourish, and did not look at the total. He could not look at the total in front of 16 people. He handed his card to Nathan. Asterisk we're celebrating, remember? Asterisk Nathan came back in 4 minutes. He leaned close. Asterisk I'm sorry, sir. The card has been declined. Asterisk nobody moved. Dad's smile held for exactly 1 more second, a reflex, like a light that stays on after you flip the switch. Then it went out. Asterisk run it again, asterisk he said. Nathan came back. Same lean, same gentle voice. Asterisk it's still not going through. Would you like to try another card? Dad reached into his wallet. 1 card, then another. Then a third pulled from behind his driver's license like a last bullet in a chamber he'd forgotten he loaded. Nath. Then came back a 3rd time. He didn't need to speak. His face said it. And Raymond Mayfield, 63 years old, arms still crossed, performance still running on reflex, looked at me. Not with anger, not yet. With the raw, unguarded expression of a man who has just realized in front of everyone he has ever wanted to impress that the net he was counting on is gone, and the ground is exactly as hard as he always feared. I picked up my sparkling water, took a sip, set it down. Asterisk I don't owe you, I never did. Asterisk the room went completely silent. Nobody called that night. Not the next day. Not the day after. The group chat I had left kept running without me. A week later, cousin Megan, the one who had sent a quiet birthday text during the silence, reached out privately. Asterisk, I just wanted you to know. That was the most honest thing anyone has done at a family dinner in 20 years. I'm sorry I was part of it. Asterisk Megan was the only one who apologized. 3 weeks after the dinner, Brooke texted, not to say sorry, to ask if I could lend her first and last month's rent for a new apartment. I replied with the name of a financial counseling service and wished her well. She didn't respond. I eventually learned the rest through Megan. Dad's business had been gone for 18 months before that dinner. The house went on the market in July. They moved to a smaller rental 30 minutes south. None of it was what I wanted for them. None of it was mine to fix. I called my father 6 weeks later and offered to sit with him and a financial counselor, no audience, no lobster, no tricks. He hung up. I haven't called again, but the offer still stands. Here is what I know now. The most expensive thing you can buy is other people's comfort with your silence. The night I stopped paying for it was the night I finally got free.